Welcome to the Rialto Marketing Podcast. Today's episode is a revenue acceleration series interview where we talk to seven-figure B2B professional service firm owners who are actively trying to grow their business and get to the next level. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly so that you can learn from their experience. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe you must remove your revenue roadblocks to accelerate growth, and marketing shouldn't be difficult. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. I am really excited to have Gary McConnell from Virtuit Systems with me today. Gary, welcome, and thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for the intro, Tim, and very excited to be talking to you today.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig into this, man. You have an interesting background, one that's different from a lot of the owners or CEOs that are running companies. So super excited to dig into this with you. Before we do that, I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions. You ready to jump in?
I'm ready to jump in.
Okay.
Yes.
Very quickly, what do you do? How long have you been doing it?
So I'm the CEO of Virtuit Systems. Quick 30-second spiel on who Virtuit is. We're an enterprise data center technology company at heart. So we focus on helping customers architect, deploy, and manage their data center infrastructure, whether it be something that's on-prem or a cloud-ready solution, or customers that are looking to leverage more of a hybrid cloud environment. Just kind of helping them down that IT journey and being their complementary team along the way. Have been doing Virtuit has been around since 2006. I've been here for 8 or 9 plus years now. The time has flown.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
That's right.
So, what in that 8 to 9 years, what's the most important lesson you've learned?
The most important lesson I've learned is to continue learning. Because the minute you think you know it all, something else gets thrown at you.
Yeah.
It's funny. I started off in inside sales, have moved over to operations. The minute you master one job, you think you know it all, and you realize how little you actually know along the way. So
Yeah.
continue learning.
I mean, none of us have it figured out, right? We're all still learning each and every day. So, I love that one. So, Gary, we all know growing a business can be challenging at times. Do you have any kind of mantra or motivational saying that you say to yourself, share with your team to kind of push through those times?
Sure. So I have one that immediately comes to mind, and I'm not going to take full credit for it because I work with an executive coach that helps me a lot. And has helped me along this journey. And the one thing that he's continually pushing me on is, hey Gary, zoom out, get out of the trenches. Where are you going? If you're focusing on activities that point you toward the path you're supposed to be headed down, the day to day becomes much easier to handle. So zoom out is my mantra that I like to use.
That's a good one. It's very similar to, hey, we got to work on our business rather than in it. I've never really heard anybody refer to it as zoom out. So it's a very interesting way to think about it, right? But we've got to think about the high level and get out of the trenches, if you will, if we're going to manage and lead successfully. So I love that one. So I want to take us back a little bit. You shared an experience with me during the pre-interview. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. You guys realized that you needed to generate more leads for the company. Can you describe kind of just what was going on at that point and what you did to start generating more leads at that point?
Sure. So being an enterprise technology company, we work a lot with OEMs, which is original endpoint manufacturers.
Yeah.
And we establish relationships with them and frankly, develop a very deep skill set. So by virtue of that, we're working with the OEM managers. For example, Dell EMC is probably our largest partner. Not probably,
Okay.
they are our largest partner. So we do a lot of Dell EMC infrastructure. So working with their sales and marketing teams, they would naturally loop us in to opportunities or customers that were looking for a solution in the Northeast or along the East Coast, saying, "Hey, Virtuit's a great partner that we've worked with. We'll work alongside them with you to help you architect, design, and deploy this solution." So we were essentially we often act as an outsourced IT arm for the OEMs,
Got it.
and it became a referral slash word of mouth uh, method of generating leads.
Got it. So that's where a lot of your business was coming from at the time.
But a lot of the business was coming from that source at the time, and
Yeah.
our owner, who still owns, is our owner to this day, presented the challenge in front of our sales team, our marketing team, and said, "Hey, um, we envision this partnership these partnerships continuing to develop and be strong, um, but all our eggs are in one basket in terms of lead generation.
Yeah.
We need to diversify how we get in front of customers, whether it be growing our deals with existing customers or getting in front of, more importantly, net new logos.
Yeah.
So how do we branch out, and what does that look like? Was our main challenge, uh, not three, but more so 4 years ago, like we've
Okay.
talked about. Yeah.
So what did you guys choose to do at that point?
So it's funny. We read a bunch of marketing books. I think one of them was called the One Page Marketing Plan.
Uh-huh.
I read every year there's SEO books that come out with the new year. So
Yep.
SEO, for those in the industry or those that operate with SEO as part of their business, know how quickly it changes. So at the time it was SEO 2018. So actually, Tim, we might be 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
And we read the book and we said, "Man, this sucks. This is not something that's going to get us leads next month.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time, but we need to do it." So slowly moving. I don't want to say moving away, because we still do traditional marketing practices like the in-person events. We've always been able to get people to events, um, but frankly, the ROI hit for us has always been much higher on uh,
Okay.
digital practices. And so moving away from in-person events, and you go and you get a one pager and you drop your business card into a box and maybe you win a giveaway, and shifting more to what does a virtual event look like? How do we? Um, One example is we've done whiskey tastings where uh, we ship out bourbon kits to our customers, and we have a professional bourbon taster get on a Zoom and walk us through 5 high-end bourbons, and obviously that's after we go through our technical spiel. I would say 90% of it is fun, 10% of it is business, but it's
Okay.
ability to build connections with potential customers, to get in front of them, show them your technology, at frankly at a much lower cost than renting out a venue and catering food and all the other things that go into a traditional marketing practice. So
Yeah.
without compromising kind of marketing efforts and the effectiveness of them, the digital arena has been much more favorable for us. So going off of that, SEO has been, I mentioned SEO 2018. Um, One thing we tell our engineers when we're working on blog posts or um, website enhancements is, "Hey guys, this isn't, yes, it's marketing, but the only thing an effective marketing team should be doing is highlighting the knowledge that you guys already have as an engineering team in the technical skill set that you establish through certifications, hands-on experience. We like to call it preparedness for battle and performance in battle. Right? Preparedness in battle is the ability to pass a certification. Performance in battle is putting those skills to use in a customer environment, and showing, "Hey, I don't just walk the walk. I talk the talk as well."
Yeah. So virtual events, SEO, anything else you're investing in on the marketing side at this point?
The one thing I can tell you we stay away from, and I don't know if it's we just haven't been effective as it, or it's too much of a short term hit for us. It has been just paid ads.
Paid ads.
We've stayed very. I know there's firms out there that are effective with it. I know there's marketing companies that tell you they can generate X amount of multiples of for every dollar you spend. We have not been effective with paid ads, and frankly, we've been able to take that marketing budget and allocate it elsewhere in terms of outbound email has been um,
Okay.
a key for us. And the one thing we used to do in the past was we'd have all these big long emails that contained all this content, and we thought this is great. We're going to put all of the content in front of the customer, and they're going to pick and choose what they like, and they'll respond. And again, you quickly learn there that less is more, and one sentence at most or two perform much better in terms of an email. Yeah. Hey, looking to have a conversation about how we can save you $900,000 in ransomware?
Yeah.
Question mark. That's it.
Yeah.
Builds intrigue, captures attention. We don't get responses all the time, but it's much more effective than inundating a potential customer with information.
Yeah. So do you have somebody that's doing that for you, or do you some of your people in-house are doing that
We do it internally, and we have a partner that we leverage as well. Frankly, we A/B test our internal efforts versus
versus
partner efforts,
theirs?
and,
Keep
and see
keep
how we
them
do.
honest, right?
That's right.
I
Yes.
love it.
Yeah.
That's good. And what does your marketing team look like at this point? Do you have in-house people? Is it all outsourced? What's that
Sure.
look like?
We have two in-house people, and then we outsource the other avenues. So we have
Got
two.
it.
I like to think of marketing as two avenues, right? And I'm going to oversimplify it, but you have inbound and you have outbound.
Yeah.
Inbound is how do we bring customers to us? So that's everything from SEO and blog writing and content descriptions.
Yeah.
And outbound is, hey, let's go get ourselves in front of customers
Yeah.
and have conversations with our sales reps. So both of those efforts are done both internally and externally.
Okay.
Going back to the thought process of, let's not pull all of our eggs in one basket. We're able to show our partners what has worked for us, and they can in turn adopt it in their efforts. If we win, they win, and
Yeah.
vice versa. And they do the same for us. Hey, we're seeing these type of responses, Gary, or to the marketing team at Vertuit, we're seeing these type of responses for these specific campaigns. Why don't you check out messaging that aligns more with this? It seems to be resonating,
Got
and
it.
so on and so forth.
And just so people know, how big is the Virtuit team as a whole?
So Vertuit overall, depending on who you talk to, we're a larger player or a small fly. So we're 32 employees now.
Okay.
We've hired a bunch at the start of the year. And I don't want to. I shared numbers with you. I'm not going to go into revenue,
Yeah,
but you
totally
know
cool.
where that sits.
Yeah, no, and that gives the reason I asked is that I think it gives people some context as to like, hey, how many people do you have to have a couple in-house people focused on marketing
Sure.
and outsourcing stuff, right? Because I think a lot of businesses kind of struggle with that. Like, should I be outsourcing marketing? Should I hire people in-house? And frankly, my answer to that is it depends on where you're at, what your goals are, and what you need to focus on. Um, but it at least gives people some context, which kind of
Absolutely.
leads me into the next thing I want to ask you about, still in the sales and marketing side of things. You guys obviously, you said to me in the pre-interview that sales and marketing, that focus is just as important as the actual service fulfillment, the technical fulfillment. Um, how and why did you adopt that mindset?
Um, So I can't answer that question without giving you a little bit of the Vertuit history. So
Sure.
sorry to bore you, but I'm going to do it
No, it's
anyway.
all good, man.
So when we were founded in 2006, it was by two former Dell EMC engineers.
Okay.
It wasn't Dell at the time. Dell EMC were not combined. It was EMC. So two former EMC engineers. Um, so our ownership is engineering at heart, and from a personality perspective, you tend to gravitate. And our owner will tell you to this day, I gravitated toward people that were similar to me, right? I like engineers. I hire engineers.
Yeah.
So for 15 plus years, we grew the majority of our business on the engineering side. We still to this day tout our differentiator as our technical talent and our ability
Yeah.
to scope, design, implement and continuously manage your infrastructure better than people at larger OEMs, just because that engineering mindset has remained true to our DNA. But what happens is you start to limit the growth a little bit because you're not putting yourself out there. You're not marketing all of that technical talent. You're not. It's almost as if you're doing a disservice to the market by not showcasing what you have to offer. So a Mercedes is a great car, but if you don't take it out for a spin and show everybody, maybe it's a poor example, but it doesn't even exist. So.
Yeah. It's depending on which conversation I'm having, you can put it multiple ways, right? But it's, if you don't have sales and marketing bringing in leads and converting them to customers,
mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how great your service is because nobody's going to freaking know about it, right?
Absolutely.
So you're the best kept secret out there, which nobody wants to be. So, I love that you have that mindset. A lot of people don't initially, right? So, the fact that you're sharing that backstory of, hey, we came from this engineering background, so we really weren't thinking about that. That's not uncommon, right? That happens all the time. But what typically ends up happening is people hit a ceiling,
mm-hmm.
like you guys did, where you're like, hey, all our eggs are in one basket. This is all referral. Yep. If we're really going to scale and do it consistently and more predictably, we have to have a lead generation engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And find other channels to start generating leads. And I think it's when people get to that place where that shift really starts to happen, where it's like, yeah, gosh, in reality, we're a marketing company first and an IT company second.
Well said. One of the things that has happened as the industry has evolved, right? You have to evolve with customer demands, and as we grew up as a company, we were able to be much more of just a VAR, a value-added reseller, where we were just reselling hardware. And as the industry has evolved, you see conversations with customers that don't just want to buy the hardware from you. They want you to also help them design it. They want you to implement it. They want you to manage it along with or coincided with their teams. And they want to make sure you're addressing any security gaps. So it's a much different conversation when you're just selling hardware to now you're expected from pre-sale to post-sale to mitigating security issues, and you can't invest into those different avenues of business or really reinvest in skill sets that your customers are looking for without the sales and marketing piece. So that was probably our biggest driver in terms of we need to get our name out there.
Is that shift or adaptation to changes in the market?
Very much. Yeah, very much. We have more conversations now than ever where they want to see one bill at the end of the month. They don't want to buy their hardware from XYZ Corp and then have John Doe's company install it and then maybe Dell come in and manage it. We don't sell ourselves as a one-stop shop. But we are true technical architects and consultants. But the reason we've been able to make that transition is by growing our sales and marketing practice so that we can reinvest into those additional lines of business where we may or may not have before, but the market has demanded it.
Okay, so I want to break this down a little bit because I know we were planning on talking about this. Now is the perfect time to do it.
Sure.
That changing and adapting to the market was one of the biggest successes that you had kind of shared with me. You started to break this down. I just want to make sure that I understand this because I think this is a really important point for people to pick up on. Is it was the choice of investing in sales and marketing that helped you actually make that change successfully, is what I'm hearing. Am I hearing that right?
Absolutely. Companies overall tend to focus on, if you go look at Wall Street earnings and, quarter over quarter growth, we don't focus on quarter over quarter growth, but we do focus on annual growth. And why do we focus on annual growth? Not just so that we have, a good number at the end of the year on the bottom line, but
Yeah.
so that we can take those dollars and reinvest them into a new security practice that's going to help our current existing customers or new customers that may come knocking on our door.
Yeah.
Without that growth, we don't get to reinvest into those type of areas. So
Yeah.
the sales and the growth is period in understanding why you're looking to grow in the first place,
Yeah.
and what you expect to do with those dollars. It's essential.
Yeah. Well, so it really, if you're doing it successfully, that growth that's coming from the sales and marketing effort is freeing up capital that you can, like you said, reinvest without having to always lean on outside investors
Hmm.
or loans, that kind of stuff. If you're driving enough top line that and it's profitable, it gives you a lot more freedom than you would have otherwise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a business nerd at heart, so I'm gonna go through an example. Um, I used to love watching. Uh, I loved watching Amazon progress as a company, because at one point they were an online retailer, and nobody heard about this thing called AWS.
Yeah.
And what Amazon did was corporate magic, if you will. They hid their reinvestments into AWS under an R&D line item on their 10Ks that came out annually. And then all of a sudden in 2015, 2016, they have this Amazon. They show this AWS product that generates billions of dollars, and has just multiplied year over year.
Yeah.
Um, AWS came to fruition because Amazon showed growth within their online retailing company. Right, their
Yeah.
company as a whole was able to take those dollars, reinvest into a completely new line of business. Didn't have to take on outside capital, or at least that much of it. Right, they're a public company, so they certainly took on outside capital, but
Yeah.
and provided better service to the market for it.
Yeah. Gary, I'm so glad you brought this point up, because I think it is, so many of us look at investing in sales and marketing just to, to drive revenue, generate more leads. But this is a really interesting byproduct or potential byproduct of it that a lot of people don't think about. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think it's a really good point. A couple more things I want to pull out of here today, because I know you got some other good stuff to share. So one of the challenges that you guys face is just ensuring that sales and marketing, uh, those teams are in total alignment. And this is a common thing that happens depending on how people approach it. They're like, they're diverging down different paths. If you're going to be successful long term, they definitely are in alignment. What kinds of things are you guys doing to keep those two teams in alignment?
Sure. So first, is the constant communication. Um, if you've worked in sales or marketing, both examples I'll give you will sound familiar. Sales will say, well, gee, marketing gave me a Gmail account. It's not even a qualified lead. And marketing will say, well, if sales didn't take 2 weeks to follow up on that Gmail account, they might have had themselves a new customer, right? So it it's that depending on the spectrum of you fall, whether it's marketing or sales, that there's those type of conversations. So it's the constant communication, in the expectation setting.
Yeah.
Whether a lead comes in, whether it's a Gmail account or a true business organization looking to purchase, you need to be communicating with your sales team early and often, and your sales team needs to be giving direct feedback to the marketing team as well. These are when leads are coming in that are working. This is where we're not seeing as much success. Um, but more importantly, than that is a unified message.
Yeah.
If your sales and marketing teams are effective, your marketing team is, I like to think, on the front lines out there, communicating and getting in front of these people. The sales team needs to be communicating at a deeper level with the marketing, to the expectation that the marketing team has set.
Yeah.
So constant communication, a unified message depending on what the campaign is, and just setting the appropriate expectations across both teams. And I know I'm oversimplifying it here. I promise you all, it's not that simple. It's hard, contrary to what you may see online. But if you can do it right, you'll fire on all cylinders.
Yeah. Gary, as far as I'm concerned, you nailed the answer to that question. I will just add a few quick things just to kind of highlight some of the things you said, because when we work on, we call it a magnetic messaging playbook, to create clients marketing messaging, it's not just marketing, right? That playbook should, if it's being implemented correctly, it's a marketing tool, it's a sales tool, it's a customer service tool, because that message needs to be consistent throughout the entire customer journey. And which is exactly what you said. Because if marketing generates a lead that goes to sales and the message that prospect hears from a salesperson is totally different, the brakes go on, right? They're like, whoa, what the heck? Like, you guys were telling me this. So super, super important. And that communication back and forth, like you said, is so critical, because on the marketing side, we may be thinking something specific, or this particular type of message is resonating, but sales can actually confirm that. Like, hey, when you're talking to the prospects, like, what are they talking about from a problem perspective? How are they putting it? How are they saying it? We want to hear that in their own words. And man, that constant communication can eliminate a lot of the roadblocks that sales runs into and marketing runs into, if that line of communication is open and happening consistently. So I totally agree with you, man. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about one of the mistakes you guys made. You shared with me that you guys invested in partnerships across different vendors, right? Because you wanted to be able to serve customers wherever they were, right? You wanted to meet them where they're at and take care of all their needs. And you said to me, "Hey Tim, that was a mistake." What did you learn? What did you learn from that, and how have you shifted the business to help drive growth?
I love talking about this, and I cringe at old practices because we used to have on our website, I believe at one point, that said, "Hey, where are your one-stop shop?" And I told you early in this interview, we are not your one-stop shop. What we've done in the past is said, "Okay, I told you we're a large Dell EMC partner. We sell a lot of their infrastructure." What we've done in the past, years ago, is we'd say, "Okay, well, we're going to be a Dell, an IBM, an HP. We're gonna take all these, and we're gonna learn all these OEM products, and our engineers are gonna be able to fulfill all of them." And it's just, I told you we're 32 people. We're not a billion-dollar conglomerate. So trying to be all things and understand all things and do all things well to everybody it wasn't effective. It frustrates the sales team because they have competing products that they have to learn continuously.
Yeah.
Our sales team does have to understand competitive products, right? Because they need to know where our product fits and how we displace competitive products. But that doesn't mean they need to try to sell all of them. And then the engineering team doesn't need to try to fulfill every competitor on the market and go through all these trainings. And I've worked with this vendor before, but I haven't touched this one before. So it sounds simple, but we've established the relationships where we think fit best for each line of business. And if the customer comes to us, we say, "Great, we know this really well. If you're working with us or you're procuring this through us, this is the product that we're bringing to market." The challenging part of that conversation is it means saying no to business oftentimes.
Yeah.
And it means telling a customer, "Hey, we're not the best fit for you." But what it does enable is a more simple selling motion and a much simpler fulfillment motion, to where we can say, if you're going to work with us for, this type of offering, we do this really well. We're going to give you the best possible pricing we can. We can charge more for it because we're experts in it. And we know what we are, not what we are not. So
what I'm hearing you say is it makes business easier and much more efficient throughout the entire journey.
Absolutely. You alluded to it earlier. It comes down to a customer journey, and what is the customer experiencing when working with Virtuit? And we want to make it as easy as possible to work with us, even if that means telling them, "Hey, we're not the best fit here. Here's somebody that might be a better fit than us." If you're ever looking for something that falls into our arena, pick up the phone. We'd love to be your first call. And that has happened. We've had customers actually appreciate the transparency, and you establish trust that way, because we're not just looking to sell any and everything to every single customer.
Man, it's as you're talking through this, I'm thinking of it's no different in marketing, right?
Yep.
Marketing is so broad at this point. Like you can't go to somebody who's, oh yeah, like I'm an expert in content, in pay per click, and
Yep.
social media, and blah 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 blah. No, you can't. You cannot. And so not only does it make the business simpler and your fulfillment more efficient, honestly, the end service is better because you know what you do cold.
Absolutely.
You're not having to guess. It's like, dude, you guys are EMC and Dell experts. You got a question about EMC or Dell? Just come to us. We'll be able to tell you, right? And your competitors that are going broader from a product perspective, odds are they're not going to be able to do that.
It's tough. We communicate that to customers that say, sure, you can go with this much larger player, but this much larger player has relationships with 10 different vendors in this one product line. You can't tell them that they know this. You can't tell us that they know this product better than we do.
Yeah.
And you alluded to the marketing piece. Marketing is probably the most guilty arena right now. And I say this as a marketing guy at heart. You know this.
Yeah.
You talk to a marketing company, they'll tell you they'll handle your SEO, their PPC, your social media, your digital brand, all of your PR, your link building. There's just no way to tackle all of those arenas. So
it sounds great as the client. It sounds great. Like, oh my gosh, I can go to one place and get this all done. In reality, it typically does not work out very well. Most of the time, an agency like that really has one or two of those offerings that they really excel at. And the rest of them, they're doing because people ask for it. Yep. Again, going down the same path that you guys went down, and we're like, dude, this is not it. We need to shift, right? I was the first business that I was a partner in was a wholesale distribution company. And we went down the same path. I mean, we made some of the same mistakes. We were selling home theater equipment is where we initially started. So we were selling to contractors who were installing home theaters and doing distributed audio. Our expertise was in home theater and distributed audio, so it was in audio video. But as we grew, we realized, gosh, a lot of our clients they're installing alarm systems and they're installing lighting control and phone systems. And, we had some success in those categories. Alarm systems, we failed miserably. It was too far outside of our expertise. And frankly, our clients weren't used to buying it from us. They were used to buying it somewhere else that specialized in it. And, so we tried to do that, right? Be the one-stop shop. Hey, we know you're buying this. Why don't you just buy it all from us? And it didn't work. It was super hard for our salespeople because they didn't know the product. So we went down the exact same path, exact same experience. And when we got rid of it and came back, things were much, much easier.
So, you hit it on the head. It's so hard to say no when you see all of these other arenas that you can be playing in bringing to the market, and it's just not as effective.
No,
it's funny, Tim. We did an exercise a few years ago, and it was breaking down what our offerings were, in productizing them and putting a bow on them so that we can bring them to the market and provide a better end user experience. And we said, gee, why are we able to charge so much more for storage than our security offerings, right? The security offerings are in higher demand. And the reason being is because we were experts in storage at the time. And that remains true to our DNA as well today, but we weren't great in the security realm yet. And we understood, there's a direct correlation between how we charge for value and what we know really, really well.
Yeah. Knowing what you're good at is super important.
Absolutely.
Really, really important. Gary, this has been a fantastic conversation, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I want to ask you one more question before we wrap things up.
Sure.
Which is, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would do differently other than not branch out into all kinds of other products?
Knowing what I know now, what would I do differently? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is not branching out into all these products, right? That
Yeah.
was probably the largest mistake we made. Knowing what I know now, I would have started building content much sooner. I would have focused on SEO, owning your brand much earlier in the process. The one challenge we ran into is it becomes daunting to say, I'm starting from scratch and I have to build this presence and build all this marketing content, and you wait to get started.
Yeah.
But the one thing is that the time passes anyway. So,
Yeah.
so what better time to start than now? I would have started sooner, is the biggest thing I can say here.
How long did it take you guys to start, one, getting traction, and two, generating some leads from your content and your SEO efforts?
Sure. It took us around, if you read, some older, or 2018 is old, ancient SEO
Yeah.
practices now, but it told you 6 months to a year. We started to see traffic in some contact form submissions hit at around 6 months, really start to hit. I remember within 10 months, we had our first 2 deals close. And I remember how proud of those deals we were. I think they were, $1,500 a month
Yeah.
between both of them. But to say, hey, look, we built this from, these are our own internal sources of lead generation, and they found us, and now we have these clients that we wouldn't have had without this online presence.
Yeah.
Worth any that $1,500 a month was, meant more to me than any larger client we may deal with now. So.
Yeah, I thank you for sharing that, because it's I talk about this in almost every episode, but marketing is a long-term game. So many people get into it thinking short-term, I got to generate leads tomorrow, when in reality, most marketing channels and tactics take time.
Sure.
Which goes back to your point, man. I wish I would have started sooner.
Yep.
Because it's gonna be 6 to 12 months, maybe longer. It just depends on the market that you're in and how competitive it is. But you're at 10 months in, and you started to generate some leads from it, small ones, but you started to generate leads, and a lot of people would have already given up at that point.
Sure.
And
And those
so
clients are still with us today, Tim. So
there you
they
go.
were small at the time, but they're much larger customers now. And like you said, don't give up. It comes to fruition. So
Yeah, you need to be consistent over time, and it will
absolutely.
work. Gary, thank you, man. Where can people learn more about you, more about Virtuit?
Perfect. I'll do a shameless plug here at the end for you, Tim,
Awesome, do
since
it.
you're laying it up for me. So if you're looking to learn more about Virtuit, our website, virtuitsystems.com, is the best place to check out our offerings. Our LinkedIn page, or my personal LinkedIn page, where you can find my contact, reach out to me, and we'll put you in touch with whoever on our side can help. So. Tim,
Awesome.
this has been great. I've checked out your podcast a bunch. I love what you're doing, so I look forward to continuing to follow your journey as well.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you, and appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for watching, listening. I appreciate you as well. We'll make sure that those links for Virtuit and Gary get in the show notes. But it's Gary McConnell 3 if you're on LinkedIn. So sure, search him up. Connect with Gary. I've enjoyed connecting with you twice now, so thank you. Guys, we spent a lot of time talking about sales and marketing today, because Gary has an extensive background in sales and marketing, so I wanted to pull from that. But man, if you want to accelerate growth, you got to remove your revenue roadblocks. And if you want to identify which of the 9 revenue roadblocks are slowing down your growth, you can do that over at revenueroadblockscorecard.com. You can also always connect with us over at rialtomarketing.com. Schedule a free discovery call. I'd be happy to chat with you and help you push through some of those roadblocks on that conversation. So thank you. Till next time, take care.